The first problem on the quiz says simplify and state any restrictions on the domain. So the first thing we're going to look at, when we first look here, there's no factors we can cancel out, but we can factor the numerator. And that is a difference of squares, so that's going to factor as x plus 2 times x minus 2. We have x plus 1 on the bottom and x plus 2. Now we have some common factors here that we can look at canceling out. So we have x plus 2 and x plus 2. There should be a parenthesis there. So now we can simplify this a little bit more, and we end up with x minus 2 over x plus 1. So we have simplified. Now it says state any restrictions on our domain. So we have to look at the original denominator and find out when could we be dividing by 0, because we can't divide by 0. So we have to look at when either of these two factors are 0. So we want to see when x plus 1, we're saying, can't equal 0, which would occur when x is negative 1. So we can't have x equal to negative 1. And we want to look at the case where x plus 2, we don't want that to equal 0, and that could occur when x is equal to negative 2. So our domain restriction is x can't be negative 1, and x cannot be negative 2. Problem 2 says simplify. Here we have a division problem. We're dividing a rational expression. So when we divided fractions, we really multiplied by the reciprocal. So first we're going to change this to multiplication. So 6n minus 2 over 6n times 27 over 3n minus 1. Now we could just multiply across and then try to simplify, but it might be easier if we can try to simplify things before we do our multiplication. We'll have smaller numbers to work with. So I'm going to try to factor these expressions and see if I can cancel anything else. So I can factor 6n minus 2 as I can factor a 2 out of there, and that leaves me with 3n minus 1, and then 6n times 27 over 3n minus 1. So now I have some common factors I can cancel. I have a factor of 3n minus 1 and a factor of 3n minus 1. Here I have a factor of 3, so if I take a 3 out of there, I'm left with 2. And here, if I divide 27 by 3, I get 9. If you notice, you still have 2 and 2, those are common factors. 2 divided by 2 would just be 1. So now we've simplified a lot, and the only thing we have left is 9 in the numerator and n in the denominator. Problem 3, again, says simplify. We have two rational expressions. They have different denominators. So first we have to find a common denominator. So the least common multiple of 4 and 18 is 36. So I'm going to need to multiply this term by 9 over 9. I'm going to need to multiply this term by 2 over 2 in order to get a common denominator. So I get 9 times 5 plus 12a over 36 minus 2a over 36. I'm going to go ahead and distribute on my numerator up here. So I'm going to end up with 45 plus 108a minus 2a. That's going to be all over 36. I can combine my like terms. I have 108a minus 2a. That's going to leave me with 45 plus 106a over 36. And we are finished. The satellite orbits the Earth at approximately 3,065 meters per second. How fast is the satellite traveling in miles per hour? And we're told that 1 mile is equal to 1,609 meters. So we're going to need to convert meters to miles and seconds to hours. So we're going to start with 365 meters in 1 second. And we want to end up with, I'll write this way over here, we want to end up with miles over hours. So first thing I'm going to do is convert meters to miles using this conversion factor. So I'm going to multiply, and I know I want meters on the bottom. I want miles on top. So I'm given my conversion here, so 1609 and 1. And what that will do is that will take care of my meters canceling out, so I will be left with miles. Now I need to multiply seconds by a conversion factor to get it to hours. So we can go from seconds to minutes and then minutes to hours, or if you know that there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour, you can use that conversion. So now we have canceled out our seconds and we're left with hours. So now what we have to do is do our multiplication and division, our simplification, so we can multiply across the top, and we get 3065 times 3600, and we're going to divide that by 1 times 1609 times 1, or just 1609, and what we get is 6,857.7 miles in 1 hour. 6,857.7 miles per hour. And you could have rounded up to 6,858. That would have been acceptable too, since it didn't tell you what to round to. This problem says solve. We're solving for x here. This is a proportion, so we have two equivalent ratios. And the standard way that most people like to do this is by cross multiplication, so using the property that the product of x minus 5 and 2 is equal to the product of 4 times 3. And you can certainly do that. So you would get 2 times x minus 5 is equal to 12. And then you can solve that. I prefer, in a problem like this, I would look at this a slightly different way. I would just say, okay, This is my term with x. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And I'm going to get x minus 5 is equal to 12 over 2, which is just 6. So x minus 5 is equal to 6. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I get x equals 11. But you could have solved this with cross multiplication as well. I just find this way to be quicker for this particular problem. But either will get you the same answer.